welcome to Story Time with me, Miss Sheila. I hope you're having a wonderful and beautiful day. Today's story we're going to read is about counting on Katherine. And it says, How Katherine Johnson Saved Apollo 13. And you know what Apollo 13 is? It's a spaceship. Did you say spaceship? Or rocket ship? But it went up to the moon. Woo! So let's read about her and her story, okay? Okay. Katherine loved to count. She counted the steps to the road, the steps up to the church, the number of dishes and spoons she washed in the bright white sink. Are you a person that loves to count? She counted everything. Whoa. The only thing she didn't count were the stars in the sky. Only a fool, she thought, would try that. Even so, the stars sparkled her imagination. What was out there? Do you think what's out in the sky? Katherine yearned to know as much as she could about numbers, about the universe, and about everything. So there she is in her house thinking. Katherine's boundless curiosity turned her into a star student. She was so bright she skipped 3 whole grades. She catapulted right past her brother, and he wasn't too happy about that, and you can tell by his expression. He's a little bit perturbed. And here she's like doing the math on the chalkboard. By the time she turned 10, Katherine was ready to go to high school. Back then, America was legally segregated by race, and her town's high school didn't admit black students of any age. Oh, Katherine burned with fury. She wanted more than anything to keep learning. There was still so much to know. What do you think her parents and her did? Let's see. Count on me, Katherine, Katherine's father told her. By working night and day, he earned enough money to move the family to a town with a black high school. So here they lived in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, and then they're showing how they traveled the road and went all the way to the Institute of West Virginia. Katherine loved high school. She was good at every subject, but math was still her favorite. She dreamed of becoming a research mathematician, making discoveries about the number patterns that are the foundations of our universe. Ooh. In those days, though, there were no jobs as research mathematicians for women. Professional professions most available to them were teaching and nursing. So Katherine became an elementary school teacher. She liked her job and she loved her students, but she never stopped dreaming about exploring numbers. It's always good to keep your dreams alive. In the 1950s, the U.S. government National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics, called NACA, hired thousands of new employees. It even started hiring black women as mathematicians. Katherine heard about the mathematician's job and her heart raced with excitement. Perhaps her dream could come true after all. But when she applied for one of the positions, she was told they were already filled, and Katherine had to wait a whole year until new spots opened up. Her patience paid off because she got the job. A few years later, the Soviet Union sent a rocket ship into space, launching a space race with the United States. NACA was rolled into a new space agency called the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, so NASA. Katherine now found herself at the heart of America's space program. She worked as a computer. Yep. So back in those days, anybody that was a mathematician was called a computer. So not electronic computers, which were not widely used yet. Calculating long series of numbers. All the computers were women. They were given the tasks that men thought were boring and unimportant. That didn't bother Catherine. She knew that without her contributions, a spaceship couldn't reach its destination nor safely return to Earth. Whoa, that's exciting. Here's why. Sending a rocket ship into space is like throwing a ball into the air. At first, the force of the throw sends the ball up, 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 up. But as its energy runs out, the ball's path curves back toward the ground. Where it lands depends on what angle it was throwing and how high and how fast it flew. Because math is a kind of a language, Catherine could ask those questions. How high would the rocket ship go? And how fast would it travel? Using numbers. And numbers would provide the all important answer. Where would it land? To find out, Catherine plotted the numbers she'd calculated on a graph, and when she joined the points together, they formed a curved line. At one end of that line was Earth at the time the rocket ship launched. At the other was the where Earth would be when the ship landed. So there you see her doing her calculations and making a graph. Catherine's reputation for accuracy and strong leadership skills, she was known for asking plenty of questions, got her promoted to Project Mercury, a new program designed to send the first American astronaut into space. Look at. So Mercury's missions were going to be dangerous, so dangerous that even the Project Star astronaut John Glenn refused to fly unless Catherine okayed the numbers. You can count on me, she said. Glenn's spacecraft, Friendship 7, orbited Earth 3 times and returned home safely. Glenn became a national hero. First, to be brave enough to go into space, but also listening to Catherine for the numbers and trusting her numbers. Catherine was promoted again. Now she was asked to calculate the flight paths for Project Apollo, the first flights to the moon. Count on me, she said. On July 20th, 1969, the Apollo 2 astronauts walked on the moon. Their feat was celebrated around the world. More triumphs followed. Apollo 12 rocketed to the moon in November of 1969. Wow, just a couple months later. Apollo 13 launched on April 11th, 1970. But on the third day of Apollo 13's flight, the worst thing happened, an explosion in space. Oh no. Could the crippled spaceship make it to the moon? And if it didn't, would it be able to get back home to Earth? The 3 astronauts on board were in grave peril. Oh, let's see what happened. Commander Jim Lovell told Mission Control, Houston, we've got a problem. Back on Earth, Katherine Johnson got a phone call. Her flight path calculations would have to be done all over again and perfectly. It would be the toughest challenge of her life. Catherine told Mission Control, You can count on me. She rolled up her sleeves, took a deep breath, and began doing the math. She worked hard and fast. A few hours later, Catherine's calculations were finished. Flight path to return home would take the ship around the far side of the moon. From there, the moon's gravity would act like a slingshot to zing the ship back to Earth. To get home, the crew of Apollo 13 would have to follow Catherine's course exactly by burning out fuel at precise intervals. If the astronauts made a mistake, their ship would drift through space forever. Ooh, that would be really scary. Catherine waited anxiously to hear the astronauts report. Finally, it cracked over the loudspeakers. We've got it! Woohoo! Apollo 13 was back on track. Yes, thank you, Catherine. Catherine Johnson had done it. She brought Apollo 13 home. She was no longer the kid who dreamed of what lay beyond the stars. She was now a star herself. Bravo. And so then here, they're just talking a little bit more about Katherine and her accomplishments. Is that not incredible? And they actually even made a movie called Hidden Figures that's all about the her and a couple of other Black women that made a difference in NASA. So I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope it encouraged you to keep dreaming and to keep um, like your passion alive and go for it. Go for the gusto. Go. I'm so grateful I could share the story and that it's written in a book. Until next time with me, Miss Sheila, go love your beautiful self and go be a star.